Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Bruce Frisco. Todd Battis is off tonight. It's Monday, the 22nd of September. This is CTV News at 6. Tonight, remembering Alexandria. Emotions run high at a sentencing hearing for a hit-and-run driver. Tapped out, another maritime city urging residents to go easy on water.
A couple of shots at some wet weather this week. First showers tomorrow, then some rain possible late Thursday into Friday.
Live from our Maritime's News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Bruce Frisco.
Good evening. We begin tonight with unsettling news at a couple of maritime high schools. Riverview High in New Brunswick was placed in lockdown and then evacuated today after staff received what is called information of an alarming nature. That was this afternoon. The school says that information came in just after 1 p.m. Police were called. The lockdown was initiated. Shortly after, students and staff were evacuated to a nearby church. New Brunswick RCMP will only say the investigation is ongoing. And a person is in custody after a threat was made toward Sackville High School today. The school says the threat was made this afternoon. Police arrived within minutes of being called. An individual was arrested without incident. The school was not placed in lockdown, but police did remain on scene for the remainder of the school day. Emotions running high at a Halifax courtroom today as family and friends shared cherished memories and favorite traits about a young woman who was killed in what they describe as a gruesome, senseless, and avoidable act of violence. The victim's mother says she'll continue to advocate for tougher penalties for people who use vehicles as weapons. CTV's Callum Smith has the story.
Dozens of Alexandria Wortman's family and friends packed into court, gathering the courage to speak at the sentencing hearing for the man who killed her. 32-year-old Deepak Sharma pleaded guilty in July to criminal negligence causing death and 2 counts of fleeing a collision. A manslaughter charge was withdrawn as part of the plea deal. An impaired driving charge was also dropped because he was not impaired. Sharma was involved in 3 collisions one January evening, first hitting a vehicle and swiping the driver as he fled from the scene, then doing 126 kilometers an hour in a 50 zone on Jubilee Road, striking Wortman in a marked crosswalk at a 4-way stop. With her lodged in the windshield, he swerved through traffic until he struck another vehicle. "I am living every parent's nightmare," said Wortman's mother. "No parent should ever have to sit through the gruesome, traumatic details of how their child was taken from them, especially in such a senseless and avoidable act of violence. I no longer fear death. If anything, I would welcome it to escape this living hell." Her father described the 21-year-old as generous, independent, curious, and passionate who helped the less fortunate. Quote, "My work, my relationships, my physical and mental health have all suffered immensely. She had so much more to offer the world, offer her family, and offer her friends, so much that will never be realized." The Halifax University student and aspiring teacher was described as a beautiful person as loved ones explained the milestones she'll miss, like graduation, marriage, and having children. Loved ones recounted the toll on their mental health, experiencing depression and anxiety, with lost work and distracted studies. Sharma had no criminal record, but the judge said 2 prior speeding offenses were concerning.
It was senseless and avoidable, and if there is a takeaway from this, I think we as a community need to stop treating driving as a right and not a privilege.
The judge ultimately accepted the joint recommendation, meaning Sharma will serve 4 years in prison and have a 10-year driving prohibition upon release.
The sentence that was imposed today is at the higher end of the range for offenses of this type in this province.
The plea deal avoids having the family wait years for a trial. Wortman's mother said she'll spend the rest of her life fighting for tougher penalties for people who use vehicles as weapons. Now, Sharma took the chance to speak in court, saying, quote, "Nothing I can say today will alleviate the devastating impact of what I did." He said part of him wishes blood samples did show he was impaired to explain the, quote, "sociopathic actions that I committed that night." Sharma said he doesn't have any memory or explanation for his senseless actions. He acknowledged he was driving at insanely dangerous speeds on a congested street with pedestrians and children. He finished by saying, "I took a life of a human being, and destroyed the life of her family and friends. I'm sorry for the pain and suffering I've caused. Bruce.
Okay, thank you, Callum. CTV's Callum Smith reporting from the News Centre tonight. On this first evening of fall, Nova Scotia's government is forecasting its largest deficit on record. It's a $1.2 billion shortfall. Now, in the past, we have seen large deficits predicted by the Progressive Conservatives, but only to end the year in a surplus. As CTV's Jesse Thomas tells us tonight, though, opposition members say this amount of spending should be setting off some alarm bells.
It was revealed today at a budget update that Nova Scotia will spend $527.9 million more than budgeted for this year, pushing the projected fiscal shortfall to nearly $1.3 billion, the largest deficit in provincial history.
I can't predict what the end of the year will look like. This is the most accurate and best information we have right now.
The PC government has projected shortfalls in the past only to end the year in surplus. Like last year, where the province ended the fiscal year with a $264.8 million surplus after predicting a $467.4 million deficit. The fiscal swings and record deficit projection is drawing criticism from opposition.
I mean, this government have become masters of what I can only call creative accounting. We never know if a projection is going to swing wildly in one direction or another. But the bottom line is we have the most spending in history, and we don't have a lot to show for it.
Healthcare costs remain the biggest driver of spending. $8.3 billion, or 46% of the budget, goes to healthcare services, where spending is up $411 million already from the February budget.
I think that if you look across the nation, that would be very close to a typical number.
As for trade and tariff tension with the U.S., Laura confirmed none of the $200 million tariff contingency fund has been spent yet.
What we've seen is that 85 to 90% of the products being sold into the United States are CUSMA compliant and not subject to tariffs.
And as for future revenue, Laura said the province is optimistic with new opportunities in developing natural resources like wind energy and critical mineral development. The Liberals say that won't help right now.
That's far into the future. These are developments that will take a decade or more to even develop.
The province is set to return to the legislature for the fall sitting tomorrow. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
And on our website tonight, the spouse of Nova Scotia's mass shooter is set to publish a memoir about domestic violence. For more on that story, you can visit ctvnewsatlantic.ca. As the drought continues, St. John Water is asking residents to go easy on their taps. This stretch of dry weather and below average rainfall has been resulting in challenges for a few weeks now. But as CTV's Nick Moore tells us tonight, the city has confirmed there isn't much further for those water levels to drop before the problems start to multiply.
The shoreline around the Loch Lomond watershed is becoming more exposed every day. But to get a better idea of just how dry it's become, take a look at the water line under the bridge connecting First Lake with Robertson Lake.
There's proof right there. It's pretty obvious.
The water level here fell by nearly half a meter in August alone. And there's really been no fluctuation this summer. The water level has only been going in one direction, down.
Every day it goes down, whether it's 10 mils or 19 millimeters, whatever it is, depending on the temperatures, right? So, normally this time of year, we're starting to recover and the lakes are starting to fill back up a bit.
Instead, the only things increasing are measures to take some pressure off the water supply. St. John Water says heavy industry in the city began to make changes to their operations last month to limit their water usage. City Hall has been given approval from the provincial government to delay all hydrant flushing that is considered to be non-critical. Then on Friday, the city issued an advisory encouraging people to limit how much water they're using at home.
No more washing cars, no more watering lawns, take quicker showers. If you're washing your dishes, minimize the amount of water you use.
If the water here drops even further by 1 meter, the problem will hit a new level of urgency. Water will have to be pumped from First Lake to Robertson Lake, with a dam being constructed under the bridge.
We want to have the lakes back up and full by wintertime, and it's important to have that stored water and ice over the winter to kind of get us through next year.
For now, the voluntary advisory is meant to help the city stay above water throughout the fall. Nick Moore, CTV News, St. John.
There is good and bad news for some in the Nova Scotia wine industry tonight. The summer drought seems to be ready to produce quality over quantity this year. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness explains.
The grape harvest is underway at Domaine de Grand Pré Winery.
The growing season started out really well.
Regular rain in the spring gave the vines a good start, but months of drought soon followed.
When it comes to grapes, unlike some other agricultural products, grapevines can handle a fair amount of drought stress.
The province's wine industry is worth about $245 million annually. While the drought may cause the yield to be down, the operations manager at the vineyard admits what they bottle could be better than usual.
Higher quality, more intensified flavors. So from a quality standpoint, the crop should be good this year.
There is, however, a downside to the lack of rain. 5 acres of plants that went into the ground to replace those lost during the polar vortex weren't ready for the drought.
Over the past 2 years, most of the planting has happened, so the vines are, 1 to 2 years old, some cases 3, but still very susceptible to drought. Drier growing season. For new vines, new plantings, they're not as established, so they can't handle as much stress.
1,100 jobs are tied to the wine industry, some here at Domaine de Grand Pré, where there are 35 acres that need to be picked while in its prime. Well, Bruce, this harvest will continue until the 2nd or 3rd week of October. Now, some of these wines will hit store shelves next summer, while others that need some aging, it'll be a couple years before they're available. Bruce.
Okay, thank you, John. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness in Grand Pré this evening. Last week, you may remember, we told you how many farmers around here were struggling to grow fall pumpkins during this dry season. Well, it appears there's at least one exception in Cape Breton, where one farm managed to irrigate its way to a pretty decent crop. Here's CTV's Ryan McDonald.
Edward Rendell is 79 years old and has been farming most of his life and says this summer was the driest he has ever experienced.
I've never seen anything like this.
But while many other pumpkin patches in the Maritimes have suffered as a result, Rendell has managed a pretty good harvest. He says it's because he was able to get his gourds the water they needed through irrigation to make up for the lack of rain.
I have 3 ponds on the farm, and I was fortunate enough that this field here, where I'm growing the pumpkins, were close to that one of the ponds, so I could irrigate them. My strawberry crop, I'm down at least 40%.
Oh, it definitely makes my life easier not having to try to source pumpkins from outside the area.
This farmer's co-op store, which gets its pumpkins from Rendell's farm, has a decent supply of them as a result, though they have seen the effects of the summer drought on some of the other crops that they collect from around Nova Scotia.
We do bring in apples from the valley, and I know the sizing is a little smaller and they're dropping off a little bit quicker down there from what I hear.
With fall only now beginning and Halloween around the corner, Rendell is hoping that a good pumpkin yield will also lead to good sales over the coming weeks, both at stores and here at the U-Pick portion of his business.
I delivered 400 to a store this morning, and some of the local guys around that are buying off me, so.
Back at the Co-op Country Store, now that autumn is officially here as of today, they too are optimistic there will be a demand.
There's been a lot of walkthrough already on them, and I'm sure we'll probably be getting another load later this week. By the way, everything's moving through now.
Beating the odds after a difficult summer in the pumpkin patch and beyond. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, Point Econia, Nova Scotia.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Well, the province-wide fire ban on Prince Edward Island is ending, although some burn restrictions will remain in place. The province says the ban ends as of basically midnight tonight. It had been in place due to the risk of forest fires, of course. Starting tomorrow, campfires used for heating and warmth will be allowed with the permission of property owners and in accordance with local bylaws. Burning, though, still only permitted after 2 p.m., but the province says people should continue to check their burning restrictions before lighting any fires. Okay, here's a live look at White Point tonight, the great resort where it's currently 18 degrees. Now to get our first look at the forecast with meteorologist Kaylin Mitchell. Was another perfect day around here today.
That's a banner evening at White Point for this.
It is.
Here. Holy cow, 18 degrees, close to the water like that.
We need the rain, though.
We do, as we just heard from those stories that you went through, Bruce. We'll talk a little bit more about our chances of rain and throughout the forecast for this evening. I did want to begin, though, with some headlines for the fall season coming up, because we did go past the autumnal equinox this afternoon at 3:19 p.m. So again, the peak fall foliage here in the Maritimes is typically late September all the way through mid-October. Displayed this year may not match quite up to previous years because of the tree stress brought on by our drought conditions. We've gone past the equinox now. The National Day for Truth and Reconciliation is coming up next Tuesday on September 30th. Thanksgiving will be Monday, October 13th, and Halloween, of course, Friday, October 31st. Nice to have Halloween on a Friday this year. Daylight saving time ends on Sunday, November 2nd, when clocks go back. And between now and the winter solstice, which is December 21st, we'll lose about 3 hours and 20 minutes of daylight. Couple astronomical happenings in the skies. Full harvest moon will be on October 6th, the night of October 6th to 7th. The full beaver moon, November 5th. Cold moon will be on the evening of December 4th. Saturn's at opposition right now, so it's bright in the night sky. A couple meteor showers ahead as well. Back to weather conditions, very mild evening across the Maritime region. Most of the temperatures currently around the high teens and low 20s. We are going to be seeing some increasing cloudiness as we move through tonight. Partly cloudy conditions, followed up by, as I mentioned, some showers that will be moving into the region for tomorrow, and I'll talk more about that when I'm back to the details of the forecast a little bit later on.
Right, you are about 15 minutes, as a matter of fact. Thank you, Caitlin. Well, some say it was a bad batch that caused a sharp increases in drug overdoses in Fredericton last week. There were more than a dozen of them in a 24-hour period. CTV's Laura Brown brings us some insight from a drug user and how officials are spreading awareness about the danger.
Mark is testing to see if the drugs in this little bag are, in fact, fentanyl.
It's positive.
And for Mark, that's a good thing. He says it's for his own pain, breaking his back after being hit by a car, and emotional pain from losing his spouse. He shares with us that he's overdosed 5 times in the past.
I guess an eye-opener, but it happens so fast that it's hard to even almost react to it, you know what I mean?
Out of respect for his privacy, we're only using his first name. Mark says he did take a batch that was circulating last week, saying he would consider it strong and feels it was a good thing for Fredericton Police to issue an alert to the community. Police say the warning came after a dramatic increase in calls for help. In 2024, there were 109 overdose calls total in the city. So far this year, there have been 113 calls, including 13 calls on Friday alone.
To have 13 overdoses in a 24-hour period in a city the size of Fredericton is not a normal amount of overdoses.
Inspector Cooper feels it would be fair to say it was a bad batch, which is why police are seeking more awareness.
You don't know what's mixed in the drugs that you're taking. You don't really know the concentration of the drug that you're taking. And if you do choose to take the drug, don't do it alone.
While Mark is able to use a strip test to see if fentanyl is present, advocates say they're working on a more thorough test.
So what the lab would allow us to do is circumvent a lot of this from like these spikes, for example, by giving us the infrastructure to test up front and see what's in the supply, know definitively what's in the supply.
Mark appreciates this type of help. He says the way people look at him, the stigma, weighs on him.
Yeah, it's a horrible feeling, actually. And if they only knew me, like, not even a year ago, basically, you know what I mean? A whole different...
And Bruce, it's important to note that anyone experiencing an overdose and seeking medical attention by calling 911, they are legally protected under the Good Samaritan Drug Overdose Act, including the person experiencing the overdose. Bruce.
Yeah, really good point, Laura. Thanks for that. CTV's Laura Brown reporting from Fredericton tonight. Lots of reaction tonight to big news over the weekend. Canada's recognition of a Palestinian state is being met by both hope and concern. For some, it's a long-awaited acknowledgement. For others, a premature move that could fire up tensions. CTV's Hafsa Arif has more.
It's bittersweet, a hope Ibrahim Manna has carried for years. Recognition that the country he was born in is now recognized by the country he calls home.
It was definitely very exciting news. It did come a little bit
late for the Palestinians, where well over 65,000 has lost their life right now.
A UN-backed hunger monitor warns parts of the territory are now in a famine. Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada's recognition of Palestinian statehood is meant to empower those who seek peaceful coexistence and the end of Hamas, and stresses that it in no way legitimizes terrorism or rewards it. But for others, the move is seen very differently. The Atlantic Jewish Council calls the decision premature and one that could embolden Hamas.
The Palestinian Authority has not reformed itself in any fashion or demilitarized. Hamas continues to hold hostages. All the different the reforms that the PA has been asked to implement have not been done at all.
Munna believes it's a step forward. His family in Palestine is also welcoming the news with hope.
They're very happy of the news, but hopefully it's implemented where the peace will come. We have a lot of families here that actually lost a lot of family members.
With anti-Semitism already on the rise, Mark David worries this recognition could worsen the problem.
It rewards terrorism. And in addition, domestically, since the Prime Minister's announcement on July 30th, we've seen, as bad as anti-Semitism has been in Canada, we've seen it be even worse.
Canada now joins more than 150 countries recognizing Palestinian statehood. But as both communities here at home make clear, the path to peace remains divided. Hafsa Arif, CTV News, Halifax.
Thank you, Hafsa. A little later in the broadcast, we'll speak with Associate Professor Robert Hewish about those issues. Still to come tonight, partly cloudy and cool for the Maritimes. Kalen will be back with his full forecast. Coming up next, though, the price of care.
I always tell everyone to get pet insurance as soon as you get your pet.
Veterinary costs are rising, and some pets may be paying the price. Details are next. Stay with us. A new study shows pet owners across Canada are finding it harder to access veterinary care. Rising costs and inflation are making even basic checkups kind of a struggle. This is a national trend, and our region is no exception. CTV's Josh Smith has more.
Owning a pet can be rewarding, but it can also be expensive. Lots of folks are struggling, and it's something Nicole Giddens-McQuaid of Riverview says she sees happening in her own community.
Sometimes if funds are low, I can see the hesitance, and a lot of people will probably be doing their own research online.
PetSmart Charities of Canada recently surveyed more than 2,000 pet owners. Highlights in the study reveal in the last year, 50% have not brought their pets to the vet or declined previously recommended care, and 67% declined care because of financial reasons. Where people live and limited awareness regarding alternative care often keep pet owners from visiting the vet.
I always tell everyone to get pet insurance as soon as you get your pet.
This Dieppe vet says prevention and pet insurance can keep costs down.
Keep them active, at a good weight, good nutrition. That's going to really help to keep their, have a longer lifespan, and then they'll be healthier longer and less kind of medical issues.
Jeff Robichaud says pet insurance saved him thousands after his German Shepherd swallowed a bone that tore his intestine.
All said and done, if it would have been out of pocket for me, it would have been $16,000. But with insurance and the right, paying that monthly fee really paid off, and it was, I think, $1,800 out of pocket.
PetSmart Charities say pet owners are open to options like telemedicine, but more payment plans and awareness are needed. Because most pet parents say a healthy pet isn't a luxury.
But I think it gets to a point that if you know your dog isn't happy or if they're not well, then I have no problem taking my dog to the vet and spending the money because it's going to cost what it costs.
Josh Smith, CTV News, Riverview, New Brunswick.
This is the focus of our CTV News web poll tonight. We're asking, how often do you take your pet to the veterinarian? Your options: I take them for regular checkups, I take them when they're sick, I don't take my pet to the vet, or I don't have a pet. As always, weigh in, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Okay, coming up next, showery weather for parts of the region tomorrow. That's the good news. Kalen will have all those details when CTV News at 6 continues. It'll Beautiful shot of St. John here, 6:30 on the nose, exactly 14 degrees outside, and that is the Liberty of the Seas there in the background. So a great big welcome to all the visitors who've come to the Maritimes. And it's the weather is like this just year round.
We're putting on all the postcards.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Except when we need the rain.
No complaints about fall so far. I guess we're, about 3 hours into it now?
Yeah, we just kind of kicked it off here, and we'll see what's coming up for this first week of fall in the Maritimes in just a moment. I want to bring you an update, though, on some happenings as far as the hurricane season goes. I'm telling you, Bermuda is happy to be missing out on this hurricane, that's for sure. This is Hurricane Gabrielle really increased in strength quite rapidly over the weekend. Now, major Category 4 hurricane, maximum sustained winds, 220 kilometers per hour. Starting to take a turn towards the northeast. Is expected to take quite a sharp turn towards the northeast, taking that storm system off towards the North Atlantic and away from us here in the Maritimes in Atlantic Canada, so that one is not going to be a concern for us. Look at weather conditions across the country. There's some rainfall warnings out for the central coast of BC, 80 to 110 millimeters of rain. We really need rain in the Maritimes, but 80 to 110 at one time is quite a bit. Up in the north right now, 7 degrees at Whitehorse, 14 at Yellowknife, and a little bit cooler at Iqaluit, sitting at 8 degrees with some sunshine. We've got low to mid-20s around the southwestern corner of Ontario, a little bit cooler at Ottawa, sitting at 18 degrees. Same thing goes for Quebec City. 21 at Fredericton right now, 18 at Halifax, 19 at Charlottetown, and 16 degrees, partly cloudy conditions being reported at St. John's. Speaking of partly cloudy, those are the type of sky conditions we're headed towards here in the Maritimes as we move through tonight. There will be some showers developing in northern areas of New Brunswick as a weather front begins to move over the St. Lawrence River Valley in Quebec. By Tuesday morning, those showers are sinking further towards the south in New Brunswick, as well as developing and building into Prince Edward Island. And then by Tuesday afternoon, some of those showers expected to reach northern eastern areas of Nova Scotia, but the rest of Nova Scotia with a higher chance of showers later Tuesday evening and Tuesday night. Now, it is expected to be mostly showers for this next weather system, so many communities will be lucky to pick up maybe a few to several millimeters out of them. After that, we'll have to wait a little bit later into this week, late Thursday into Friday, for our next shot at some rain and some showers in the region. Winds for tomorrow will be out of the west. They'll be sustained 10 to 20 kilometers per hour with some gusts between 20 and 40, so a little bit breezy. Low temperatures for the Maritimes tonight, mostly high single digits and low teens. High temperatures for tomorrow be in the range of around 19 to 22 degrees for northern areas of New Brunswick, with central and southern parts of that province with high temperatures mostly between 18 and 21, including 18 at St. John and 21 for Moncton. Prince Edward Island for tomorrow with high temperatures 18 to 20 degrees. Some showers will be developing throughout the day. In eastern areas of Nova Scotia, some scattered showers arriving in the afternoon and evening. High temperatures mostly 16 to 20 for Cape Breton, low 20s for the North Shore and the Eastern Shore. Northern and central areas of Nova Scotia on Tuesday with high temperatures in the high teens and low 20s. The Annapolis Valley with high temperatures near 22 degrees for tomorrow. And on the south shore of Nova Scotia, most of the highs between 19 and 22. Taking a look at the 7-day outlook for New Brunswick, coming up on Wednesday, it's a mix of sun and clouds, slightly cooler. And then on Thursday, increasing cloudiness, rain and showers expected Thursday night into Friday. And then that's followed by a mix of sun and cloud for the upcoming weekend. For Nova Scotia, in the forecast coming up on Wednesday, there's a chance of some early morning showers, then a mix of sun and cloud. Thursday, increasing cloudiness with rain and showers Thursday night into Friday. Cloudy conditions to start the upcoming weekend, but breaking to a mix of sun and cloud for both Sunday and Monday. And for Prince Edward Island in the forecast coming up on Wednesday, it's a mix of sun and cloud. On Thursday, increasing cloudiness during the day, rain and showers Thursday night into Friday, and that is followed by a mix of sun and cloud for the weekend. Bruce.
Thank you, sir. We'll double-check the wake-up weather a little later on the broadcast tonight. Coming up next, we'll discuss Canada's recognition of the Palestinian state with Dalhousie Associate Professor Robert Hewish. And we have this story.
Way, hey, hey, it's no ordinary day, 'cause I'm coming back to the Maritimes. Hey, East Coasters, it's Sean McCann, the shanty man from Newfoundland here, just to let you know that I'm coming back to sing with you all again. I'm going to be there Friday night in Dartmouth, Sanctuary Arts Center, and then St. John, New Brunswick, BMO Studio Theater, and then the Trailside Music Hall in Charlottetown. It's going to be awesome, and me and Katie Kelly are going to talk to you about that coming up.
This was a big story over the weekend. Canada, along with several other countries, including the United Kingdom, formally recognized a Palestinian state. That, of course, goes against the wishes of the United States and Israel. To talk about this and the ramifications, we are joined by Dalhousie International Development Associate Professor Robert Hewish. Thanks, as always, for joining us, Robert.
Great to be here, Bruce. Thanks.
First of all, what do you make of the fact that Canada has done this?
Well, it's in many ways recognizing a state that is beginning to vanish, and what I mean is that you're seeing Canada joining Britain, Australia, and other countries now increasing that vision of Palestinian statehood on the outside, and it's really starting to fade from within. So these countries have just sort of joined a chorus of already 193 member states of the United Nations, so 75%, who already recognize Palestine. So coming into it now, after we see that Israel's war against Hamas and the impacts that's had in Gaza, already there's pressure in place by the Israeli government against the West Bank and the Palestinian Authority that's going on there that makes it basically look like there's going to be more expansion of Israeli forces into the West Bank. And so this is what I mean. We're recognizing the Palestinian state at a time when there's plans to essentially destroy it.
And speaking of timing, this comes at a time when there's a lot of tough economic talk from south of the border. There's a feeling that this might not have been the best time. What do you think?
Well, the thing is with the U.S. relationship with Israel, it is what Israel relies on to keep going. And in many ways, we're seeing that without that relationship with Washington, the state of Israel would be a pariah state internationally. There's very few countries in the world that are supporting the actions that have taken place. The Human Rights Council in Geneva recently spoke out to say that they're declaring actions there in Gaza to be a genocide, and of course the famine coming up. So there's not much that the global community is throwing towards Israel to say that they've supported the actions and the response to the October 7th attacks over the last couple of years. And as a result, if that relationship between Washington and Israel were to go anywhere other than where it is currently, then it would be a very trying time for Benjamin Netanyahu, who again is wanted in several countries for war crimes.
That said, as you say, the relationship right now at least appears to be strong. So how difficult was this for Mark Carney?
I think Mr. Carney is joining a chorus of leaders in Europe and again in Australia who are coming to this resolution a bit too late. There's going to be the ability for these states to be put in a position to recognize that the actions that Israel's taken against the Palestinian people are those in which infringe upon statehood, and there's where you can get into some language and legality within the United Nations and elsewhere that could invoke discipline. So now it's only the United States that's on the Security Council in the United Nations that is still supporting Israel in this way. But the other thing that comes with it, and I think this should be chorused in, is that these discussions about two-state solutions and recognition of the Palestinian state, there's nothing new about this. This has been going on for 100 years or so. And with that, it's coming at a time when Israel has plans for further expansion into the West Bank. We're seeing the worst is already beginning to beckon with that. The West Bank, the Palestinian Authority, relies heavily on Israel's banking system. That has been cut off. So Israel's cut off the means of any financial transactions between Israel that controls the ports that allow goods into Palestine and the Palestinian Authority. So there's some within Palestine that say that within weeks they're going to start running out of basics and even petrol, or I guess gasoline in that way. And we're seeing that there's more plans for expansion and more military aggression going into the West Bank, and that's a grim spot to be Palestine. So even though you might have countries of the world recognizing your statehood, what is likely going to happen with further Israeli expansion, occupation into the territory, is basically a reduction of Palestine into small city islands.
Are we to take this decision as further evidence that we're moving away from the U.S. in terms of foreign policy? I mean, I know we're ramping up efforts to make deals with Europe and Mexico and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think in that way it is an expression for Prime Minister Carney to say that Canada is going to drive its own path. We're not just going to be partnering with the U.S. on every piece of foreign policy. Then again, he's not the first prime minister to do this. Jean Chrétien departed ways, Diefenbaker departed ways, even Pearson, and we see that we're not really in lockstep with what U.S. foreign policy is. And the broader chorus to that is that most of the United Nations is not at this moment. And that's another echoing factor that doesn't mean there's going to be some sort of global discipline against Donald Trump's White House, but it means that the policies that we're seeing from the U.S., especially when it's been discussed around this conflict, are very much out of step with how the rest of the world is viewing this conflict and viewing what should be a peaceful resolution to it.
What about the reverse, though, Robert? Can we expect some kind of retaliation from Donald Trump? Can we expect it? I mean, he's threatened it before, right?
Oh, he has. He makes it up on the fly. So it's whatever pops into his mind that should be retaliated towards, former allies and trading partners. But again, part of the gang that's also making this call for recognizing Palestinian statehood is also the United Kingdom. And we see that the language that Trump has used for the UK has been very warm and flattering. We haven't been able to get that sense of brotherly fondness between the two countries since Trump came into his second term. But Britain's PM, Keir Starmer, he's someone who still has the support of Trump, or the will of Trump to not bash his government repeatedly. That can't be said about the Australians, unfortunately. So it's the same old playing deck with Donald Trump. Who knows what's coming next?
Sure.
With his international relations.
Robert, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you, as always, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Bruce.
Dalhousie international development expert Robert Hewish joining us tonight to talk about news that Canada is joining Australia and Britain in recognizing a Palestinian state. Stay with us. We'll be right back. In the Lifeline tonight, turns out cycling isn't just good for fitness, it's good for your brain. CTV's Amanda Debison has more.
Cycling can help protect your brain against dementia. A new study has found riding a bike is associated with a 19% lower risk of all-cause dementia and a 22% lower risk of Alzheimer's disease. That's compared with taking non-active travel modes like a car, bus, or train. The study involved 480,000 participants from Great Britain, and it was published in the journal JAMA Network Open. Physical activity has long been associated with lower dementia risk in multiple studies, so much so that it's been identified as one of 14 factors responsible for preventing or delaying roughly 45% of dementia cases. Finally, according to a study in the Public Library of Science One journal, walking speed could be a reliable way for improving fitness in older adults. Researchers followed seniors over a 3-month period and found that those who picked up the pace by an additional 14 steps per minute to about 100 steps per minute had greater gains in strength and endurance compared to other seniors walking at a more casual speed of about 77 steps per minute. The study suggests even small increases in walking speed can help keep you spry. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
Well, we're on the scene now with Katie, and from a founding member of Great Big Sea to a solo troubadour, Sean McCann is back on the road.
Yes, Bruce. This weekend, he continues his Great Big Canadian road trip with 3 stops right here in the Maritimes.
By doing this trip, I got to learn a lot about what it means to be a Canadian and see it all up front and up close and personal.
Sean McCann is no stranger to life on the road, but his latest adventure has taken him on a different kind of tour. Trading in big stages for small halls and churches, McCann set out on what he calls a great big Canadian road trip, a grassroots cross-country trek.
I carried my own PA, a little sound system. I carried my own couple of lights. And it was just really grassroots, and it reminded me of when I started.
The trip is also a chance to embrace the music that defined his career.
I've really made peace with my Great Big Sea legacy and heritage, and the songs have come back. I do all my, I've got a great catalog now. There's over 200 Great Big Sea songs, and there's over 100 Sean McCann songs, and they're kind of similar. Many ways. So and it's a great big country, so kind of definitely wanted to lean on both things.
McCann says at a time where tensions have been high, his mission is to unite people in song. This tour is about connection, community, and commitment to the country.
On this trip, every night I was in a room in a small town in Canada, and I was looking out at an audience that I knew were divided politically every night. And but every night, as Canadians, we sang together.
This weekend, he'll make a great big stop in the Maritimes with shows in Dartmouth, St. John, and Charlottetown.
I will be singing my heart out. And I believe music is medicine, and I do it as much for myself as for anyone else. It means, to me, it's higher purpose and all that stuff, but it makes me feel good. Singing makes me feel good, and I guarantee you, my personal guarantee, if you come to my show and sing along with me, you will feel better.
What's better than a personal guarantee like that?
Right? He's such a talent. So again, he's going to be here this weekend. He's going to be in Dartmouth, St. John, and Charlottetown. So probably not a lot of tickets left. So if you want to see Sean McCann this weekend, get on it because he is amazing. And so many great Big Sea songs.
For sure, exactly, yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll step aside, take a look at tonight's primetime lineup. Welcome back. And before we continue, we'll head outside to Kaylin on the weather deck with a look at the wake up.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. It's a lovely late September evening here in the north end of Halifax. So sky conditions will be turning partly cloudy around the Maritimes as we move through the night. Some showers in northern New Brunswick. Let's take a look at our viewer picture for tonight. And this features, I guess, what was the last sunrise of summer at Charlotte, New Brunswick. I want to thank Rachel Daly very much for sharing this picture. And for Charlotte for tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud, high temperature of 19 degrees. Day planner for tomorrow, highest chance of showers in the morning will be central and southern areas of New Brunswick as well as western Prince Edward Island. Morning temperatures around the Maritimes will see high single digits and low teens. As we move into and through Tuesday afternoon, those scattered showers will come across the south of New Brunswick, across Prince Edward Island into parts of the north and east of Nova Scotia. Other areas of Nova Scotia can expect to get into some showers later Tuesday evening and Tuesday night. High temperatures tomorrow, mostly around the high teens and low 20s. The winds will be out of the west and relatively light by our standards here in the Maritimes. A few gusts between 20 and 40 kilometers per hour. Bruce.
Right you are. Thank you, Kaylin. Well, finally for us tonight, wait staff put their speed to the test in Paris as they race through the streets of the French capital. Hundreds of contestants taking part in the event Sunday, so they have to carry a tray that's loaded down with water, coffee, and a croissant, and then walk roughly 3 kilometers without spilling anything. This race was first held back in 1914. It returned last year after a decade-long hiatus. That's quick service right there. That is the program for this Monday night. A reminder, ctvnewsatlantic.ca updates right around the clock. I'm Bruce Frisco in for Todd Battis, and I will be back with your next newscast tonight at 11:30. Thank you for watching this one. Have a good evening. We'll see you again soon.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast.